Massachusetts is filled with history, cobblestone streets, and grand old mansions. By day, these mansions are beautiful, stately, frozen in time. By night, the shadows awaken. Footsteps echo in halls that should be empty. Doors open and close on their own. Chandeliers swing slightly without wind. Some say you can hear whispers through the walls, voices long dead, telling secrets no one should know. And sometimes, if you look too closely in mirrors, a face stares back that does not belong to the living. Tonight, we walk through the doors of the 20 most haunted mansions in Massachusetts, where the past never left, and the dead still roam the halls. Hello dear listener, welcome to another night of mystery and shadow. I hope you are comfortable, maybe alone with dim lights or wrapped in a blanket. Because tonight we explore the most haunted mansions in Massachusetts, where the grandeur of architecture meets the horror of the unseen. Some rooms are locked for a reason. Some halls creak even when no one walks. Some mirrors reflect figures from centuries past. Visitors have reported cold hands brushing their arms, whispers calling their names, and chairs moving as if someone sits unseen. Before we begin, answer me this in the comments: if you had to spend one night alone in a haunted mansion, would you stay in the master bedroom or explore the attic where shadows move freely? Think carefully. Take a deep breath. The doors are opening. The doors are opening. The Gore Place Mansion in Waltham stands as a grand testament to a bygone era, its stately walls and elegant architecture hinting at the wealth and refinement of those who once called it home. Built by prosperous merchants, the mansion was a center of social gatherings, candlelit dinners, and refined entertainment. Today, the rooms are silent, the halls empty, yet the echoes of the past linger, whispering through the corridors and filling the spaces with memories of lives long departed. Visitors entering the mansion often describe a sense of stepping back in time, where the present and the past converge. Candlelit hallways, though unlit by modern fire, seem to glow faintly in the imagination, shadows stretching along the walls as if servants still move between rooms. Guests have reported glimpsing figures, fleeting and shadowy, appearing just at the edge of vision. These shapes move with purpose, traversing halls and staircases in patterns that suggest familiarity with the mansiona's hidden corners and secret spaces. In some rooms, the sounds of a piano are said to fill the air. The music is soft, almost ethereal, notes drifting across the floorboards with the elegance and precision of a skilled hand. Yet no instrument exists there, the keys long removed or forgotten. Witnesses describe melodies that rise and fall as if performed for a distant audience, haunting and beautiful, lingering in the air like a memory that refuses to fade. The effect is subtle but unforgettable, a reminder that history leaves traces in ways both tangible and unseen. One visitor recounted walking through the main hallway late in the afternoon. The sun cast long shadows through tall windows, yet within the depths of the hallway, shapes seemed to shift. A shadow crossed the far wall, moving with a fluidity that was unmistakably human. The visitor froze, heart quickening, only to find the space empty moments later, the silence unbroken except by the soft creak of old floorboards. The sensation of presence remained, a reminder that the mansion was not entirely deserted. Others have reported feeling the presence of someone beside them in rooms once used for entertaining. A cold brush along the arm, a shift of air that does not correspond to any open window or draft, or the impression of being watched from a corner are all described consistently. These sensations are accompanied by fleeting glimpses of movement, a shadow retreating behind a doorframe, or the faintest shimmer of fabric passing through a hall. The mansion seems to respond to attention, revealing only what is meant to be seen and vanishing the moment one tries to confront it directly. The servants of the past are often the ones most vividly felt. Reports suggest that these figures move purposefully, attending to duties long since ended. Guests have observed fleeting forms moving between kitchens and dining rooms. The movement is subtle, often glimpsed from the periphery of vision. Yet it carries a sense of diligence, the echo of lives spent in service. Faithfully repeating actions learned long ago. Music is another constant presence. Notes of piano, harp, or stringed instruments float faintly through rooms, rising and falling in a cadence that seems natural and alive. Sometimes the melody begins in one corner of the mansion and drifts, as if carried by unseen performers. Guests report that the music does not last indefinitely, it fades when observed directly, leaving only the memory of sound and the impression that the mansion itself is alive with the traces of its former occupants. The architecture and design of the Gore Place Mansion contribute to the effect. Tall ceilings, polished wood floors, and expansive rooms create spaces that carry sound and shadow in ways that can heighten perception. Long hallways amplify footfalls and creaks, while corners and alcoves obscure movement until it is nearly within reach. Every room seems to hold its own history, the past etched into the very walls and floors, waiting for those sensitive enough to perceive it. By night, the mansion is at its most atmospheric. Moonlight streams through windows, casting long, ghostly shadows across walls and floors. Silence is profound, punctuated only by distant animal sounds or the occasional rustle of branches outside. It is in these hours that visitors report the clearest experiences, figures moving silently, music drifting through rooms, and the faint but unmistakable sense that the mansion is aware of their presence. The past seems to reach forward, connecting with the present in subtle yet undeniable ways. By morning, the mansion returns to its ordinary, quiet state. Visitors leave carrying impressions rather than evidence. Memories of fleeting movement, soft music, and the gentle sensation of unseen presence. And that within these walls, the lives of those long gone continue to inhabit the spaces they once knew intimately. The Gore Place Mansion is more than a historic home, it is a vessel of memory. Shadowy figures, ephemeral music, and whispered echoes invite those who enter to perceive history in a visceral and haunting way. Guests leave with a story, a sense of wonder, and a quiet acknowledgement. And that the lives of its former inhabitants continue to resonate within its walls, silently witnessing every visitor who walks through its corridors. The Isaac Royal House stands in Medford, Massachusetts, a grand colonial mansion with weathered clapboard siding and tall windows reflecting the afternoon sun. By day, it is a museum, its rooms carefully restored, filled with furniture and artifacts that hint at the lives of its past owners. Visitors walk along polished floors, peering into parlor rooms and dining halls, tracing the history of a family that shaped the town and the era. But when night falls, the house takes on a different presence, one that is felt rather than seen, and echoes of the past linger in the shadows. Guests and staff report hearing footsteps along the corridors at night, pacing slowly and deliberately. The sound is unmistakable on the wooden floors, the soft creak of boards echoing through the hallways. Sometimes the pacing is steady and purposeful, as if a figure is lost in thought or ritual, walking the same path repeatedly. At other times, the footsteps stop suddenly, leaving a heavy silence that presses against the walls and ceiling. Visitors describe the feeling as being watched, a subtle awareness of presence just beyond perception. Some witnesses have seen a figure in a colonial coat, standing near windows and staring outward into the dark night. The man's form is tall and composed, his features difficult to make out, yet his posture conveys a quiet authority. Observers describe the sudden chill in the air, the faint scent of wood smoke, and the unnerving feeling that the figure is aware of them. When approached, the man vanishes, dissolving into shadow or perhaps stepping silently through the walls, leaving only the echo of his presence behind. One visitor recounted walking along the second-floor hallway, where the polished wood reflects faint moonlight through the tall windows. Footsteps sounded behind him, steady and measured, yet when he turned, no one was there. He stopped and listened, the creaking continuing for several moments before fading into silence. At the end of the corridor, near a window overlooking the grounds, he glimpsed a man in a colonial coat staring outward. The figure did not move, yet seemed fully aware. He blinked, and the man was gone, leaving only the cold air and the weight of the encounter. Another account comes from a tour guide who stayed late to close the museum. She described hearing pacing in the hallways. Footsteps that could not belong to anyone on the premises. When she approached the parlor, the figure appeared briefly in the window. Tall, composed, coat dark against the interior light. She called out softly. But the figure vanished before her eyes. She felt the chill lingering long after the footsteps and sight had disappeared. A reminder that the house carries memories that transcend the living. Legend suggests that the spirits haunting the Isaac Royal House are tied to the complex and sometimes dark history of the property. The family lived through periods of wealth, influence, and controversy, and the echoes of their lives are said to remain in the house. The footsteps and figures may be manifestations of the past owners, walking familiar paths, standing guard, or replaying moments long ago. The experience is not harmful, but it is palpable, a quiet reminder that some places retain memory and presence in ways that are beyond understanding. Imagine walking the halls yourself at night. The wooden floors beneath your feet creak softly with each step. Moonlight filters through the windows, illuminating the parlor and corridors in silver. A sudden sound behind you, a soft, deliberate pacia draws your attention. You turn to see a figure standing near a window, dressed in the attire of a bygone century. He gazes outward, still and calm, and you feel the cold brush of air on your skin as if the house itself exhales. You move forward, and when you look back, he has vanished, leaving only shadow and memory. Visitors who experience the Isaac Royal House at night speak of the mix of awe and unease it evokes. There is no malevolence in the footsteps or the figure by the window, yet the presence is undeniable. The pacing, the gaze, and the sudden vanishing create an atmosphere of mystery that lingers in the mind. The house seems to breathe with history, each creak of wood and flicker of shadow carrying the weight of decades past. The Isaac Royal House is a place where history and spirit intertwine. The footsteps echo the routines of a family long gone. The figure in the colonial coat is a witness to time, appearing briefly to remind the living that memory lingers in spaces shaped by human presence. Visitors leave with the impression that the house is alive in a way that is more than architectural, that each corridor and room holds echoes of those who once walked them. If you ever walk the halls of the Isaac Royal House after dark, look toward the windows, and you may glimpse a tall figure in colonial attire. Still and silent, staring outward. Approach, and the figure will vanish, leaving only the cold air, the echo of movement, and the undeniable sense that the house remembers. The Isaac Royal House carries the past in every beam and board, allowing those who visit at night to witness the shadowed remnants of a life that refuses to be forgotten. The Lizzie Borden House in Fall River stands as a monument to history, its walls heavy with stories that have lingered for over a century. By day, visitors marvel at its preserved Victorian architecture, the delicate woodwork, the high ceilings, and the carefully maintained rooms that reflect the life of a bygone era. Yet beneath the surface of this historic home lies an atmosphere that is impossible to ignore, an undercurrent of tension that many have felt but cannot fully explain. Visitors often report a sensation that begins subtly, a shift in the air, a tightening of the chest, as though the house itself is aware of their presence. Some describe feeling unseen hands brushing against their clothes, tugging gently, not violently, but insistently, guiding attention to corners, doorways, or objects that seem ordinary at first glance. The feeling is a physical reminder that this house has witnessed events that have left an imprint on the very fabric of its walls. Whispers are a constant part of the experience. Soft, repetitive, and disembodied, they often speak names, repeating them over and over. Visitors report hearing their own names, or the names of people associated with the house's past. The whispers appear to come from no specific direction, moving through hallways, behind doors, and across the floors. They are never loud or aggressive, yet the repetition and insistence create a sense of unease that lingers long after the initial encounter. One visitor described walking through the main hallway and feeling a sudden tug at her sleeve, gentle but unmistakable. She paused and glanced around, the ornate room empty except for the furniture and the quiet creak of floorboards beneath her feet. As she moved forward, she heard a whisper, soft but persistent, repeating a name she did not recognize. The sound seemed to echo from multiple directions at once, leaving her disoriented and tense. She left the room quickly, yet the memory of touch and sound remained vivid, as though the house had reached out to her personally. The upstairs rooms are particularly noted for these sensations. Visitors report chairs shifting slightly, doors creaking open without explanation, and a presence that seems to linger just beyond the edge of vision. The air often feels colder in certain areas, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the house during the day. The tension is subtle but persistent, a constant awareness that something unseen is observing, interacting, and reminding those inside of the house's infamous past. The basement, with its low ceilings and dim lighting, has its own reputation. Shadows appear along walls and beneath staircases, sometimes accompanied by the faintest sounds of movement. Some visitors have felt their clothes tugged as they descend, a sensation that is at once chilling and commanding attention. The whispers here are often clearer, more insistent, repeating names associated with the events that made the house notorious. The combination of darkness, enclosed space, and repeated phenomena creates a heightened awareness, an acute sensitivity to every sound and sensation. Imagine walking through the Lizzie Borden house alone. The polished wood gleams softly under dim lighting. The air is still, yet heavy. You feel the gentle brush of unseen fingers along your sleeve. Whispers drift through the hallways, repeating names in a rhythm that seems synchronized with your steps. You glance at the rooms, half expecting to see movement, half hoping you do not. Each creak of a floorboard, each shift in air, carries a sense of attention, as though the house itself monitors every step. The phenomena are consistent yet unpredictable. Some visitors experience physical sensations without hearing whispers. Others hear voices but feel no touch. The combination of tactile and auditory experiences, along with the house's history, creates an environment that is both fascinating and unsettling. Many leave with the memory of the house pressing upon them, the weight of history made tangible through sensation and perception. The Lizzie Borden house is more than architecture and history. It is a repository of events that have left their mark. A place where the past is never entirely past. Visitors repeatedly describe the same sensations. Tugging at clothes soft and insistent. And whispers repeating names soft yet persistent. Echoing through the halls and rooms. Creating a sense of connection to the house's past, while reminding those inside of the invisible presence that endures. Even in the light of day, the tension persists. The air feels thicker, the rooms heavier, as though history itself is embedded in the walls. By night, the experience intensifies. Shadows stretch long across floors, whispers become more distinct, and the sensation of being touched, observed, and guided by unseen forces grows stronger. It is an environment that challenges perception, engages the senses, and leaves a lasting impression on anyone who walks its halls. The Lizzie Borden house continues to attract visitors from around the world, drawn by history and legend alike. The reports of unseen hands, whispered names, and lingering presence remain consistent, a testament to the enduring influence of the past. Those who enter often leave with more than photographs and memories. They carry a sensation, an awareness, and a story of the invisible forces that inhabit the house. The air remains thick with tension, the whispers continue to echo, and the unseen hands remain a quiet, persistent reminder that some histories are never truly gone, but linger, watching, guiding, and leaving their mark on all who enter. The Crane Estate in Ipswich stands as a monument to grandeur and history. Its massive rooms stretch endlessly beneath high ceilings, adorned with intricate moldings and polished wood that reflects the light from crystal chandeliers. The walls hold portraits of past generations, their eyes following every movement with a subtle, silent scrutiny. By day, the estate is a testament to wealth and artistry, drawing visitors to marvel at its architecture and design. By night, however, the house reveals a quieter, more enigmatic presence, one that has been reported by guests, caretakers, and curious wanderers alike. In the grand halls, visitors speak of feeling watched even when no one else is present. Shadows gather in corners, the spaces between columns seem to shift, and a weightless awareness lingers above the polished floors. The rooms themselves feel alive, imbued with the memory of centuries of human activity, yet something more subtle pervades the era, a sense of silent observation that is impossible to explain. The most frequently reported apparition is a ghostly woman, often spotted descending the sweeping staircases. Her dress is long and flowing, trailing along the steps in a way that defies ordinary movement. Witnesses describe her motion as fluid and natural, as though she is fully present. Yet the moment she reaches the bottom of the stairs, she vanishes, leaving only the impression that she has moved beyond the boundaries of the physical world. Those who have seen her describe an initial sense of disbelief, followed by awe. The atmosphere in the room changes with her presence. Sounds seem muted, the echoes of footsteps softer. The light dimmer yet more focused. Some report a faint scent, like old roses or lavender, that lingers in the air for a few moments after her disappearance. The effect is both beautiful and haunting, leaving witnesses with a feeling that they have glimpsed a fragment of the estate's living memory. Caretakers and staff who remain late into the evening report similar experiences. As they walk, they feel eyes upon them, a quiet presence that moves with them without sound. Occasionally, doors appear slightly ajar, chairs are found shifted from their usual positions, and the faintest trace of movement is noted in areas where no human could have passed. These subtle disturbances add to the impression that the house itself retains echoes of its past residents, watching, observing, and occasionally appearing in more tangible form. One evening, a visitor exploring the second floor observed the figure of the woman descending the central staircase. The room was vast and silent, the chandeliers casting a gentle glow over the polished steps. The ghostly form moved gracefully, her dress flowing as she descended. When approached, she did not flee but simply vanished as if absorbed by the walls themselves, leaving the visitor standing alone with the hushed sound of their own breath and the soft creak of the floorboards. The phenomenon is not limited to the staircases. In other parts of the estate, guests report glimpses of shadows moving along the walls. Subtle shifts in light and reflection, and a sense of presence in rooms that are otherwise empty. Some describe fleeting glimpses of figures standing at the edge of their vision, watching silently, never approaching but never absent. The effect is cumulative, creating an atmosphere where every hallway, every archway, and every grand room feels alive with memory. Local legend suggests that the ghostly woman is tied to the Crane family or former residents of the estate. Others propose she may be a visitor from a later era, someone who became connected to the estate through tragedy or strong emotional resonance. Regardless of origin, her appearances are consistent and distinct, characterized by her flowing dress, the quiet descent of staircases, and her sudden disappearance through solid walls. The estate's architecture amplifies the experience. High ceilings create echoes that are easily mistaken for movement. Polished floors reflect light in unexpected ways. The long corridors provide a sense of depth and distance. Fog or mist occasionally drifts through the halls on cooler evenings, further softening the edges of reality and making the figure appear luminous against the darkness of the rooms, making the apparition's movements appear more dramatic. Visitors often describe a combination of emotions: wonder, tension, curiosity, and a subtle apprehension. The experience is never overtly threatening, yet it leaves a lasting impression. The ghostly woman embodies both beauty and mystery, a presence that seems entirely natural within the vastness of the estate while remaining entirely beyond the ordinary. Those who witness her often speak of returning to the estate, drawn by the hope of experiencing the same haunting grace once more. Even when no figure is seen, the atmosphere of the Crane estate retains its quiet vigilance. Shadows shift in the corners, and the hushed whisper of wind through open windows or doors reminds visitors that they are not entirely alone. Reflections appear in mirrors where no one stands, and the hushed whisper of wind through open windows or doors reminds visitors that they are not entirely alone. The hushed whisper of wind through open windows or doors reminds visitors that they are not entirely alone. The Crane estate endures as a place where architecture, history, and memory intersect. The ghostly woman descending the stairs, the silent watchers in the corners, and the subtle disturbances in the vast rooms all contribute to a sense that the estate is alive in a way beyond the physical. Each visit offers a glimpse into a world where the past and present coexist, where grandeur and mystery meet, and where the unseen continues to move quietly through the halls of this historic Ipswich landmark. At night, the estate is silent except for the echoes of footsteps and the soft creak of the floorboards. The ghostly woman appears, flowing down the staircase, vanishing into the walls. Visitors and staff alike feel her presence, a silent witness to the passage of time. Leaving behind only memory, awe, and the undeniable impression that the Crane estate is a home for both the living and the unseen. Built by generations of one family, its stately rooms, wide hallways, and creaking floorboards hold stories of life long past. The air is thick with the scent of old books and decay, and the silence is oppressive, heavy with secrets. A sense of foreboding settles over the lead investigator, as they realize the weight of the history that surrounds them. Visitors often report experiences that defy explanation. In the old study rooms, where books line the shelves and heavy desks remain undisturbed, faint whispers sometimes fill the air. The words are indistinct, carried softly across the room, a voice or voices repeating what cannot be comprehended. Those who hear them describe a sudden awareness, the feeling of presence, as if unseen figures are observing, lingering just beyond sight. Objects moving without cause is another frequent occurrence. Chairs tip over with no one nearby, doors slam despite the absence of wind, and small items seem to float across rooms before settling inexplicably on the floor. The movement is unpredictable yet purposeful, as if the house itself is alive with memory. Guests report sudden chills accompanying these events, a sensation of being watched and acknowledged, though nothing material touches them. One visitor described entering the study late in the afternoon, drawn by curiosity. The room was silent, filled with the golden light of a descending sun. A book lay open on the desk, and for a moment, all seemed still. Then a chair tipped over behind him, falling with a quiet thud. He turned quickly, but no one was there. A faint whisper brushed his ear, so soft it could have been imagined, yet undeniable. The room returned to calm, leaving only the lingering awareness of presence. Others recount entire sequences of activity. A door slowly creaks open as if inviting someone in. Objects move across the floor, tracing invisible paths, then come to rest. Whispers continue, sometimes urgent, sometimes soft and almost mournful. The combination of sound, motion, and sensation creates an experience that feels alive and interactive, as if the house itself remembers and responds to those who enter. The Isaac Winslow house is filled with history that is palpable. Generations of the Winslow family walked these floors. Children ran through halls. And daily life unfolded in these rooms for centuries. It is perhaps this accumulation of presence that continues to manifest. The whispers may be echoes of conversations long past. Objects may move along familiar paths once used by hands now gone. Visitors sense the layering of time, a delicate overlay of history pressing against the present. Some guests report that the phenomena intensify in certain rooms. The air grows colder, a subtle pressure accompanies each whisper. And shadows appear slightly longer or deeper than expected. Books seem to shift ever so slightly, papers rise and flutter. And chairs move just out of reach. The experience is immersive, blending visual, auditory, and physical perception in a way that is difficult to rationalize. Despite the activity, the house never feels hostile. There is no sense of aggression, only observation and interaction. Visitors describe the presence as inquisitive, at times playful, as though unseen residents are testing awareness, engaging with the living in the only ways they can. Whispers may repeat a word, phrase, or name, yet never communicate clearly, maintaining an air of mystery that is both compelling and unsettling. Night amplifies the effect. Moonlight streaming through the windows casts long, shifting shadows across walls and floors. The quiet is profound, broken only by the occasional creak of the house settling. In this stillness, whispers are more distinct, objects move more visibly, and the sense of presence grows stronger. Observers report an increased awareness of being watched, a delicate tension between curiosity and apprehension. By morning, the house seems to return to its ordinary state. The objects are in place, the air is warm and still. And silence resumes its natural rhythm. Yet visitors leave with memories of movement, whispers, and the lingering sensation of presence. The Isaac Winslow house endures as a space where history and the unexplained coexist. Shadows, whispers, and moving objects are reminders that the past is never truly gone. And that the lives of those who walk these floors continue to echo, silently observing each new visitor who steps through the doorway. The Isaac Winslow house remains a place of mystery and history intertwined. Each creak of the floorboards, each whispered sound, and each unexplained movement is a testament to the layers of time embedded in its walls. Visitors leave not with fear, but with awe, aware that they have glimpsed the enduring presence of those long gone, a subtle reminder that history is not only recorded in books and walls, but also in the invisible echoes that continue to inhabit the spaces once lived in. The Huguenot House stands in Newburyport, Massachusetts, an elegant colonial home with tall windows, weathered siding, and history layered into every beam. By day, sunlight reflects off the panes and illuminates carefully preserved rooms filled with antique furniture, portraits, and remnants of centuries past. The building holds the quiet dignity of age, a testament to the families that lived within its walls. But as night falls, the house takes on a different presence, one felt rather than seen, where shadows lengthen and the ordinary world seems to fade into something more mysterious. Visitors often report seeing a tall shadow near the windows at night. The figure is imposing yet indistinct, appearing suddenly, then lingering silently. Almost as if observing the rooms or the night beyond. Its form is human-like but blurred, lacking detail, moving with a stillness that defies natural motion. Those who glimpse the shadow describe a sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that presses upon the air around them, filling the rooms with a presence that cannot be ignored. Along with the shadows come voices. People have reported hearing their names called softly from empty rooms. The sound is clear yet distant, echoing lightly through hallways and chambers where no one is present. It is not threatening, but it is compelling, drawing attention and stirring a sense of unease. The voices are subtle, almost hesitant, yet they leave an impression, a reminder that the house holds memories of lives long past. Candles flicker even when electricity is turned off. Flames dance against the walls, casting moving shadows that seem to breathe and shift independently of air currents. Objects in the room are illuminated briefly by the glow, then fade back into darkness. Witnesses describe the candles moving with purpose, as if guided by unseen hands, creating a rhythm that mirrors the quiet calling of voices and the occasional appearance of the shadow by the windows. One visitor recounted standing in the parlor late at night. The house was silent, the air cool, and the shadows deepened in the corners of the room. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared near a window, still and dark against the faint light of the moon. As the visitor watched, they heard a soft whisper of their name from behind, yet no one was there. The candle on the table flickered violently, then returned to a steady glow. The shadow remained for several moments before dissolving, leaving only the memory of its presence and the subtle chill in the room. Another account comes from a caretaker who spent the evening walking through the Huguenot house. In one of the bedrooms, a candle flickered and shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. The caretaker heard a voice calling softly from the hallway. Stepping forward, they saw nothing. But the sensation of observation was intense. As though Summonia or Somthinga was aware of each movement. The candle flickered again, the shadows shifted, and the air seemed to carry the weight of long-forgotten moments. Leaving the caretaker with an impression that the house remembers all who enter its rooms. Legend suggests that the Huguenot house holds remnants of its past occupants, lingering in the spaces they once inhabited. The shadows, the whispered names, and the flickering candles may be expressions of memories or spirits bound to the home, carrying traces of lives that shaped the Buildinga's history. The house does not harm, but it communicates subtly, reminding visitors of the passage of time and the depth of memory preserved in its walls. Imagine walking through the halls of the Huguenot house at night. The wooden floors creak softly beneath your feet. The moonlight filtering through tall windows. In the corner of your eye, a tall shadow appears, standing silently and watching. A candle flickers on a table, casting shadows that move independently of the flames. You hear your name, soft and distant, echoing through a room that seems otherwise empty. A shadow remains just out of reach, the whisper fades. And the air grows still again, leaving only memory and the quiet sense of being observed. Those who experience the Huguenot house often describe a mixture of awe and unease. The phenomena shadows, voices, flickering candelisa create an atmosphere that is immersive and haunting, yet not malevolent. Visitors leave with the feeling that the house is alive in a subtle, mysterious way, that it holds stories and presences which cannot be fully understood, only witnessed. Each hallway, room, and window becomes a space where history and the present coexist, where unseen figures leave traces of memory for those willing to observe. Where unseen figures leave traces of memory for those willing to observe. The Huguenot house is a place where time feels layered and history tangible. The tall shadows at the windows. The soft calling of names. And the flickering of candles remind all who enter that some presences endure long after life has passed. Visitors come seeking history, yet find mystery and echoes. A living testament to the enduring impression of the past. If you ever explore the Huguenot house at night, pay attention to the corners of the rooms, the windows that face the street, and the glow of candles that move without wind. Listen carefully, and you may hear your name called softly. You may see shadows stretching and shifting. And feel the presence of those who once walked the halls before you. And when you leave, the memory of the house's unseen inhabitants will linger. A quiet reminder that some stories remain alive, patiently waiting in the stillness of night. The Adams National Historic Site in Quincy stands as a testament to the lives of two American presidents and the family that shaped a nation. Its stately rooms, elegant furnishings, and polished woodwork reflect an era of history preserved with care. Visitors walk the halls, observing portraits of the past, delicate furniture, and artifacts that have survived centuries. Yet beneath the calm and dignity of this former presidential mansion, the house holds a presence that many have felt, a subtle awareness that the history within these walls is not entirely silent. Voices echo through the hallways, faint at first, then growing clearer. Guests often report hearing footsteps along polished floors when no one else is present. Some describe whispers that seem to drift from one room to another, soft and indistinct, yet undeniably human. Occasionally, words can be discerned, the voices carrying tones of instruction, conversation, or quiet admonishment, as if the house remembers the routines and habits of those who once lived and worked there. The sounds are never harsh, but they carry weight, filling empty rooms with the presence of the past. Objects in the home sometimes move without explanation. Chairs are shifted slightly, doors open slowly as if nudged by invisible hands. And delicate items placed on tables or shelves appear in different positions when visitors return. These phenomena are subtle, rarely alarming, yet consistent enough to draw the attention of multiple witnesses. It is as though the house itself preserves the rhythm of life, echoing the actions of those long gone. Portraits lining the walls add to the sensation of being observed. Many visitors report the feeling that painted eyes follow their movement, a silent and watchful gaze that never blinks. The effect is not menacing, but it is undeniably present, creating a sense that the history of the Addams family is alive in some form, quietly observing the modern occupants of their home. One tour guide described an evening when the house was nearly empty. As she moved through the rooms, she felt a sudden chill and heard the soft creak of a floorboard behind her. Turning quickly, she saw that no one was there, yet a chair she had just passed was angled slightly differently. A door that had been closed minutes earlier was now ajar. She reported that these occurrences were subtle but persistent, leaving a lingering awareness that the mansion remembers and responds. Visitors have also reported seeing apparitions in the halls. Some describe figures dressed in period clothing, moving gracefully between rooms, going about tasks as though the house were still alive with domestic routine. These figures are never threatening, they are observers or participants in the ongoing history of the home, shadows of the past that coexist with present-day visitors. The sensations they evoke are of reverence and curiosity rather than fear. The architecture of the house contributes to the effect. Yet the consistency of witness accounts, the movement of objects, and the clarity of certain sounds suggest that the experience is more than acoustic illusion. Imagine walking through the Addams National Historic Site on a quiet afternoon. The sunlight streams through tall windows, illuminating polished floors and carefully maintained furnishings. As you step down a hallway, a faint murmur drifts from the next room. You pause, listening. Footsteps echo behind you, soft and deliberate. A chair nearby seems slightly shifted, a door closes slowly in the distance. Portraits of long-departed family members gaze silently, their painted eyes following your movement. The house is alive with the memory of its past, subtle, profound, and undeniable. The Addams National Historic Site continues to attract visitors from around the world, drawn by history, architecture, and the stories preserved within its walls. Many leave with more than photographs and impressions of the era, they carry the memory of footsteps, voices, and movements that seem guided by invisible hands. Guests describe a sense of connection to the past, a feeling that the house itself maintains a watchful presence, ensuring that the history of the Addams family remains alive and tangible. Even when the mansion is empty, the echoes persist. The creak of floorboards. The whisper of voices. The movement of objects all remind visitors that the home retains an essence of those who lived, worked, and walked its halls. The Addams National Historic Site is a space where history is not merely observed but experienced. Where the past interacts with the present, creating a subtle yet persistent sense that the legacy of this family, and their home, endures in ways both tangible and mysterious. Visitors often speak of leaving with heightened awareness. A lingering sense that the house is watching, listening, and remembering. The echoes of voices, the movement of furniture, and the silent gaze of portraits combine to create an experience that is immersive and unforgettable. The Addams National Historic Site remains not only a monument to history, but a living testament to the presence of the past. Where every step, every whisper, and every creak carries the quiet authority of those who once called it home. Hammond Castle in Gloucester stands perched above the rocky coastline, a sprawling structure of stone towers, winding corridors, and grand halls that echo the ambitions of its creator. By day, the castle is a museum, filled with visitors eager to explore its unique architecture, collections of artifacts, and panoramic views of the Atlantic. Yet as the sun dips below the horizon and the crowds depart, the castle takes on a different character, one that is quieter, heavier, and tinged with mystery. Visitors who remain after closing hours often describe an unsettling sensation. Footsteps echo along the marble floors and polished wood even when the halls are empty. The sound is deliberate and measured, sometimes following a familiar pattern along corridors, other times appearing and disappearing without explanation. It is as though some Ania or something moves unseen, maintaining the rhythm of the castle long after the living have gone. Staircases, too, behave in inexplicable ways. The creak of wood beneath phantom weight is heard despite the absence of anyone ascending or descending. The sound carries through the castle, bouncing off stone walls, echoing in alcoves, and leaving a lingering impression of life in the stillness of night. One of the most frequently reported phenomena occurs in the library. Visitors describe seeing figures appearing in suits of old armor, standing silently among the rows of books and artifacts. The suits themselves seem animated, not fully corporeal, yet observers swear they catch glimpses of movementa, an arm shifting slightly, a head turning, a shadow passing across the floor. The effect is subtle but undeniable, creating a sensation that the library is both a repository of knowledge and a stage for something beyond ordinary perception. The atmosphere in Hammond Castle is amplified by its architecture. High ceilings, narrow passageways, and stone walls create natural echoes. But the consistency of report suggests that something more than acoustics is at work. Shadows appear where none should be, and objects seem to shift slightly, reinforcing the impression of a space that is alive with memory and presence. One evening, a small group of visitors exploring the castle after hours recounted a chilling experience. As they moved through the main hall, they heard the distinct rhythm of footsteps behind them. Turning, they saw only empty space. On the grand staircase leading to the upper levels, the floorboards creaked with a familiar cadence, yet no one was ascending. In the library, a suit of armor seemed to tilt forward slightly, catching their attention and then returning to a rigid stance as if nothing had happened. The group left with a mixture of awe and unease, certain they had witnessed phenomena that could not be explained by ordinary means. Local lore suggests that these occurrences may be connected to the castle's history. Built by inventor and collector John Hayes Hammond Jr., the castle contains artifacts from centuries past, each carrying stories, energies, and echoes of previous occupants. Some believe that the presence of the armor suits and the phantom footsteps are manifestations of the castle's long memory, a residual energy preserved in the stone and timber of the structure. Others suggest that spirits linger, perhaps tied to the castle's construction or the lives of those who once worked and lived within its walls. The creaking staircases, the echoing steps, and the shifting armor combine to create an atmosphere that is both tense and captivating. The experience is rarely frightening in a direct sense, rather, it is a subtle, persistent awareness that the castle has a life of its own. Guests often report a heightened perception of the space, noticing details that would otherwise go unobserved, feeling watched without ever seeing an observer. Many who visit Hammond Castle describe a sense of continuity, as if the castle exists simultaneously in multiple eras. The footsteps echo from a time long past, the suits of armor stand as guardians of history. And the halls retain the rhythm of human presence even in the absence of living occupants. Witnesses leave with the sense that they have interacted with a space that is alive in both tangible and intangible ways. The fog and mist that often drifts along Gloucester's coastline add to the castle's mysterious character. Windows and balconies capture shifting light and shadows, giving the appearance of figures moving in peripheral vision. Sounds are softened and carried through the corridors, and the natural acoustics of the castle amplify the smallest noises, blending them with the already uncanny echoes of phantom footsteps. The natural acoustics of the castle amplify the smallest noises, blending them with the already uncanny echoes of phantom footsteps. Those who encounter the phenomena at Hammond Castle often feel a combination of wonder, curiosity, and unease. There is no immediate threat, but the sensation of being observed or followed lingers long after leaving the halls. The suits of armor, the creaking stairs, and the silent watchers contribute to an experience that is immersive and unforgettable. A subtle dance between the past and present within the stone walls of the castle. Even on the quietest nights, the castle seems to maintain a rhythm. Footsteps echo in empty corridors, staircases creak with unseen weight. And armor suits appear to shift imperceptibly. The building itself feels aware, alive in a way that is difficult to articulate. Preserving the presence of those who once moved through its halls while inviting new observers to experience its mysteries. Hammond Castle endures as both a historical landmark and a repository of the unexplained. The ghostly footsteps, the creaking staircases, and the figures in armor form a tapestry of mystery that draws visitors to wonder at the unseen layers of its existence. Each encounter is unique, yet all share the same sense of a place where history and the supernatural intertwine. As night falls and the Atlantic wind brushes against the Castlea's towers, the echoes continue. Footsteps resonate. Staircases whisper. The suits of armor stand silent and watchful. Hammond Castle remains a space. A home for memory, history, and the phantom presence of those who never fully left. Inviting all who enter to witness the subtle mysteries hidden within its stone walls. The William Clapp House in Dorchester stands as a silent witness to centuries of history, its stately architecture and elegant rooms a testament to the lives of those who once walked its halls. By day, sunlight pours through tall windows, illuminating polished wood floors, antique furniture, and walls adorned with portraits of generations past. Yet when night falls, the house transforms. Shadows deepen, the rooms seem to breathe with unseen presence, and an air of expectancy fills the corridors. Visitors often report the first hint of the unusual as they move through the parlor or hallways. From the quiet corners of the rooms, soft music drifts, floating through the air as if played on an unseen piano. The melody is delicate, hauntingly beautiful, and unmistakably human in quality. It seems to come from all directions at once, enveloping anyone who stands in the space. Guests describe an immediate sense of being observed, as though invisible eyes follow their movements while the music carries across polished floors and faded rugs. In the old ballrooms, another phenomenon is often reported. Shadowy figures appear to move in rhythm with the music, dancing slowly and deliberately. Their forms are faint, partially transparent, yet they convey the grace and posture of experienced dancers. Observers describe feeling both awe and unease, captivated by the movement yet aware that the figures are not fully of this world. Sometimes the dancers circle one another, disappearing into walls or vanishing mid-step, leaving only the echo of music and the memory of movement in their wake. Candles add another layer of mystery to the experience. Lights flicker and go out naturally in old homes, yet here, candles reportedly relight themselves moments after being extinguished. The flame rises again without wind or human intervention, casting long, shifting shadows across walls and ceilings. The effect is subtle yet unmistakable, a delicate reinforcement of the sense that the house is alive with memory and presence. Guests report that these flames are accompanied by a feeling of warmth or energy, as if the house itself is breathing life into its surroundings. One visitor described standing in the parlor on a quiet evening. The room was dim, with only a few candles illuminating the furniture. Suddenly, the faint sound of a piano began to drift through the air, soft and precise. Turning slowly, the visitor saw a shadow move along the edge of the room, as if tracing the floorboards. The form danced in place, moving gracefully with the music, then vanished as the visitor blinked. leaving the parlor silent except for the lingering echo of melody and the faint warmth of candlelight. The house seems to respond to attention. Those who pause and observe closely often report more vivid experiences. Music becomes clearer, figures more distinct, and candles more likely to ignite spontaneously. Conversely, those who dismiss or ignore the phenomena may notice only a subtle shift of air, a soft sound, or a fleeting shadow, as if the house adapts its presence to the awareness of its visitors. The effect is immersive, blending sight, sound, and perception in a way that makes the boundaries between past and present almost imperceptible. Locals suggest that the spirits are remnants of past inhabitants, families, and guests who once filled the rooms with laughter, conversation, and music. The dancers may be figures from balls and social gatherings, moving eternally to the songs that once graced the parlor. The music itself is perhaps a memory embedded in the walls and floors, replaying for those attuned to the house's presence. Whatever the explanation, the experiences are consistent: melody, movement, and subtle interaction with the living. The architecture of the William Clapp House enhances the phenomena. High ceilings, expansive rooms, and polished wood floors carry sound and reflect shadows, creating an atmosphere where even the faintest noise or movement is amplified. Hallways echo footfalls and whispering tones, while alcoves and corners provide space for shadows to appear and vanish. Each room holds its own character, contributing to a layered experience where music, figures, and lights converge into a single, unforgettable impression. By dawn, the house returns to ordinary perception. Sunlight fills the rooms, birds call outside, and the faint scent of wax and wood lingers. The dancing shadows disappear, the music fades, and the candles remain as they were placed. Visitors leave with memories rather than physical evidence, carrying with them the sense of having glimpsed life beyond the ordinary, a brief connection with those who once called the house home. A brief connection with those who once called the house home. The William Clapp House endures as a place where history and the unexplained meet. Shadowy figures, spontaneous music, and relighting candles remind us that some spaces retain the essence of those who inhabited them. Guests leave with awe and curiosity, aware that within these walls, the past is not silent, and that the spirit of life, music, and movement continues to linger, waiting to be noticed by those willing to observe and remember. The Balch House in Beverly stands as a testament to centuries of history, its wooden floors creaking underfoot and its hallways stretching long and narrow. By day, sunlight streams through tall windows, illuminating the rich details of colonial architecture, aged furniture, and the echoes of past lives preserved within its walls. By night, however, the house takes on a different character. Shadows deepen, the air grows cooler, and the ordinary sounds of the house give way to something intangible yet unmistakable. Visitors report that the hallways hold a chill, a cold air that seems to linger even when the doors are closed. Footsteps echo softly along the wooden floors, distinct yet impossible to trace. Sometimes the sound moves behind a visitor as they walk, pacing their steps, following them silently through the corridors. The feeling is subtle at first, almost like a draft, yet it grows steadily more pronounced, a sensation that something or something is present just beyond the edge of perception. Mirrors in the Balch House tell another story. Visitors have noticed figures reflected in glass that do not appear in the room. Shadows behind them stretch and shift independently of their own movements. In one instance, a guest looked into a tall mirror at the end of a hallway and saw the vague outline of a person standing behind them, silent and still. When they turned, there was no one there, only the long corridor stretching into shadow. The reflection remains, a persistent reminder that the house is more than it seems, holding the memory of lives long past. One visitor recounted walking the second-floor corridor late in the evening. The hall was empty, quiet except for the faint rustle of air and distant creaks of old wood. As they moved, they felt a presence behind them, subtle yet undeniable, moving in sync with their steps. Turning, they saw nothing. The air seemed colder against their skin, carrying an almost imperceptible weight, pressing lightly yet insistently. They continued down the hall, and the feeling followed until the staircase at the end, where it dissipated as though retreating into the walls themselves. Another story comes from a caretaker who spent an evening cataloging artifacts in a small parlor. The room was quiet, the air thick with the scent of aged wood and polished surfaces. A faint movement caught their eye in the mirror across the room. A shadowy figure appeared behind them, tall and indistinct, standing perfectly still. The caretaker froze, holding their breath, but when they turned, the space was empty. The figure's reflection lingered for a brief moment, and then vanished entirely, leaving the parlor silent except for the soft echo of footsteps that seemed to belong to no one. Legend suggests that the Balch house retains the presence of those who once lived and worked within its walls. The cold air, the faint footsteps, and the shadowy figures in mirrors are said to be the echoes of people who walked these halls centuries ago. They do not harm, but they remain, persistent and quiet, a reminder of the passage of time and the lives that shaped the home. The house holds memory in its wood, glass, and air, allowing the living to sense the weight of history in subtle, sometimes unsettling ways. Imagine walking through the long corridors of the Balch house yourself. The wooden floors creak beneath your feet, shadows stretch across walls and doors. Shadows stretch across walls and doors. And a faint chill brushes your skin. Somewhere behind you, footsteps echo softly, matching your pace. Yet when you turn, the hallway is empty. You glance into a mirror and catch a shadow in the reflection. A figure standing silently where no one exists. The air grows heavier, pressing gently against you. And the sensation of being watched lingers. You step forward, and gradually the presence recedes, leaving only the memory of what you cannot see and the quiet echo of history. Those who experience the Balch house at night often speak of the balance between awe and unease. The footsteps and reflections are subtle, but they are persistent, creating an atmosphere that feels alive with memory. The house itself seems aware of movement, aware of presence, carrying the stories and impressions of countless lives. Shadows stretch across mirrors, footsteps echo in empty corridors, and the cold air drifts silently along the halls. The Balch house is a place where the past and present converge. Each footstep, each flicker in a mirror, and each chilling breath of air is a reminder that memory endures beyond life. Visitors leave with a heightened sense of awareness, a recognition that the house is more than wood and stone. It is alive with traces of those who once walked its corridors, a silent, patient witness to the passage of time. If you ever explore the Balch house, especially after dark, pay attention to the subtle sounds and reflections around you. The hallways may feel colder. Footsteps may echo where none exist. And mirrors may reveal figures standing silently behind you. The presence is not hostile. But it is persistent, a quiet reminder that history lives within the walls. And that some stories remain, patiently waiting to be sensed by those who walk among them. The Josiah Quincy House in Quincy stands as a testament to early American architecture and the life of one of the city's prominent families. Its stately rooms, high ceilings, and polished wooden floors reflect the elegance of a bygone era. Visitors move carefully through the hallways, admiring the preserved furnishings, the portraits lining the walls, and the sense of history that permeates every corner. The portraits lining the walls, and the sense of history that permeates every corner. Yet beneath this air of refinement, the house holds an intangible presence that many have felt and cannot explain, subtle but persistent, shaping the experience of all who enter. Faint voices are often heard in the study rooms. These sounds are soft, indistinct, yet unmistakably human. Visitors describe whispers of conversation, quiet murmurs, and the sensation of words spoken just beyond comprehension. The voices move through the room, echoing lightly against wooden panels and high ceilings, sometimes drifting from one side of the study to the other. They are not threatening, yet they carry a weight, a presence that is felt in the chest and along the spine. Chairs sometimes shift under invisible weight. Guests report sudden movements of seating, slight adjustments as if someone had just risen or settled down, though no one is present. The effect is subtle but unnerving. The sensation is amplified by the stillness of the house, the soft ticking of clocks, and the muted creak of wooden floors. Visitors describe an immediate awareness that the room is not entirely empty, that the presence of unseen occupants lingers in every corner. Candles burn cold despite flickering flames. Many report placing candles on tables or mantels, only to feel an unexpected chill emanating from the wax. The flames flicker as though moved by unseen hands. Yet the surrounding air remains heavy and cool, creating a dissonance that heightens the sense of presence. The phenomenon is reported consistently, adding to the uncanny atmosphere of the home, and reinforcing the feeling that the house itself is aware, attentive, and subtly interacting with those inside. One visitor recounted an experience in the main study. Sitting at a polished wooden desk, they noticed a low murmur as if several voices were speaking softly around them. Leaning back, they felt the chair beneath them tilt ever so slightly, as though adjusting to an unseen occupant. They reached to steady themselves, and the flame of a nearby candle flickered violently, yet the air felt icy and still. Moving around the room, they observed nothing, yet the sensations persisted, leaving a lingering sense of being watched and accompanied. Other guests have described similar experiences throughout the house. Steps echo faintly along hallways. Doors creak without breeze. And the scent of old wood and wax seems sharper in moments of heightened awareness. Shadows stretch across rooms in ways that do not correspond with natural light, creating the impression that unseen forms are present. These phenomena combine to produce an atmosphere that is immersive. A reminder that the house is more than its furnishings. More than its architecture, it carries the weight of history, memory, and perhaps lingering consciousness. Imagine moving through the study of the Josiah Quincy house at dusk. The sunlight filters through tall windows, casting long shadows across polished floors. You pause, noticing a whisper that seems to drift from the far corner of the room. Your chair rocks slightly beneath you, yet no one is there. A candle flame flickers, and the air carries a chill, unnatural in the warmth of the setting sun. Every sound is amplified, every movement feels significant, and the presence of the past is undeniable. The combination of visual, tactile, and auditory sensations creates an experience that is both compelling and disquieting. Visitors often report a heightened awareness of their surroundings, a sense of history actively interacting with the present. The voices, shifting chairs, and cold flames evoke the presence of those who lived and worked in the home, reminding observers that the legacy of the past remains alive in subtle, persistent ways. The Josiah Quincy house continues to draw visitors for its historical significance, its preserved elegance, and its enigmatic atmosphere. Those who enter often leave with more than memories of architecture and antiques. They carry the impression of voices that speak softly, chairs that move of their own accord, and flames that burn with cold fire. The house is alive in a manner that defies explanation, a space where the past and present intertwine, where history interacts with the living in ways both delicate and profound. Even when the house is quiet, the sensations remain. Hallways seem to carry echoes of movement. Study rooms vibrate with unseen activity. And candles continue to flicker in defiance of warmth. Visitors report a lingering awareness that the house watches, remembers, and interacts in ways that cannot be fully understood. The Josiah Quincy house is not merely a historical site. It is a living testament to the persistence of presence. A place where subtle phenomena remind all who enter That the echoes of the past endure, shaping perception and leaving an indelible impression on the mind and senses. Those who step inside are reminded that history is never entirely silent. Faint voices, shifting chairs, and cold flames create an immersive experience. A dialogue between the present and the past. The Josiah Quincy house remains a place where every step, every whisper, and every flicker of flame carries meaning. Preserving the stories and the unseen activity of those who once called this historic home their own. The Otis House stands quietly on a historic street in Boston, its brick FAA section Ade and tall windows hinting at centuries of stories within. By day, visitors admire its architectural elegance, the symmetry of its design, and the history embedded in every stone. By night, however, the house transforms. Shadows deepen, the street falls silent, and a subtle sense of anticipation fills the air, as though the building itself is waiting for something to emerge from the past. As though the building itself is waiting for something to emerge from the past. Guests who approach the house after dusk often speak of an unusual sound, a piano playing softly from within. The music drifts through the windows, a delicate, haunting melody that rises and falls in rhythm, yet no pianist is ever seen. The notes seem to carry through the halls, echoing in the empty rooms, as if the house itself were performing. Some describe the music as beautiful and melancholic, a song from another era that touches the imagination and curiosity of those who hear it. Along with the music, visitors report seeing shadowy figures moving behind the old windows. At first, they appear as vague silhouettes, shifting slightly, watching the street or the front garden. The presence is deliberate and distinct, as if the figures are observing the world outside the house with purpose. Yet whenever someone approaches the window or attempts to enter the room, the figures vanish, leaving only an empty space and a lingering sense of being watched. One evening, a visitor paused in the front garden, drawn by the soft strains of piano music. The windows above seemed to glow faintly in the dim light, and a shadow moved behind the curtains. As they stepped closer, the figure disappeared. The music continued, flowing through the house as if nothing had changed. The visitor felt a mixture of awe and unease, realizing they had glimpsed a presence that was both part of the house and entirely apart from the living world. The effect is enhanced by the house's architecture. High ceilings and long hallways create natural echoes, amplifying the sound of the piano. And carrying it through rooms where no one stands. Yet the consistency of reports suggests that the shadows are more than illusions, appearing repeatedly in the same areas, always observing and always vanishing when approached. Locals and historians suggest that the Otis house holds memories of those who lived there, preserved in the air, walls, and furnishings. The music may be an echo of long-past evenings, when guests gathered for conversation and song. The shadowy figures may be remnants of former residents, silently maintaining their presence in the spaces they once occupied. Each encounter becomes a bridge between past and present, a glimpse of life frozen in time yet alive in perception. Visitors who experience the phenomena describe a strong emotional impact. The combination of music, shadows, and the historic setting creates a sense of intimacy and connection to a time long gone. There is no threat, no sudden movement or fear, only the subtle awareness that the house is alive with memory, observing and performing in its own quiet way. Many speak of returning to the house at different times, drawn by the hope of hearing the music again or catching another fleeting glimpse of the figures behind the windows. Even on nights without wind or movement, the piano music seems to travel effortlessly through the empty rooms. Notes linger in the air, fading slowly but leaving an impression that cannot be ignored. The shadows shift slightly, as if acknowledging the presence of those who have come to witness the phenomena. The experience is immersive, engaging the senses and drawing attention to details of the house that might otherwise be overlooked. Some witnesses have reported multiple figures appearing at once, standing silently behind different windows or gliding past the edges of the room. The effect is mesmerizing, as if the house has retained the rituals and routines of its former inhabitants. The shadows are subtle, never intrusive, but their presence is unmistakable. They seem to be performing an eternal observation, bound to the house as surely as the walls themselves. The music and shadows continue even when no one is in sight. The piano may play softly, each note deliberate, rising and falling in a pattern that is familiar yet impossible to trace. The figures remain in the windows, watching, vanishing, and reappearing, a rhythm that seems choreographed by the memories embedded in the house. Visitors who leave often speak of the lingering atmosphere, the sense that the Otis house continues to exist not only as a structure of brick and wood but as a vessel for unseen presence. The combination of history, architecture, and unexplained phenomena makes the Otis house a unique experience for those who seek it. It is a place where time feels fluid, where the past emerges in sound and shadow, and where visitors become part of a narrative that spans generations. Each step through the house, each note of the piano, and each fleeting shadow offers a connection to lives once lived and moments preserved. At night, the Otis house remains quiet and imposing, the piano continuing to play somewhere within, the figures watching silently from behind the windows. Those who approach are reminded that some places carry the memory of those who came before, preserved in echoes, light, and shadow. The Otis house endures, a living testament to history and mystery, where the music never stops and the watchers never leave, inviting all who visit to witness the haunting beauty of a past that still lingers among the walls. The Hooper Mansion in Boston stands as a testament to a bygone era of elegance and wealth. Its towering FAA section A and intricate woodwork reflect a time when grandeur and meticulous design defined a home. Inside, spacious rooms with polished floors and ornate trim speak of refinement, while high ceilings and wide hallways offer a sense of openness rarely seen in modern architecture. By day, sunlight filters through tall windows, casting patterns across the floors and illuminating the rich history preserved in every corner. Yet, as night falls, the mansion transforms. Shadows lengthen, the air grows still, and an unseen presence seems to settle within the walls. Visitors have reported strange experiences, particularly on the upper floors. A ghostly lady is said to pace the hallways late at night. Her figure is faint and ethereal, yet unmistakable, moving with purpose and grace. Guests describe the sensation of being watched, a subtle pressure in the air that tightens with each step she takes. The air grows cold near her, an inexplicable chill that seems to emanate from her alone. Doors have a tendency to slam unexpectedly near areas where she is sighted. The phenomenon often occurs when her name is spoken softly, almost instinctively, by those who feel compelled to acknowledge her presence. Witnesses report that the doors do not just close, they slam with a force that feels deliberate, as if the mansion itself is responding to recognition of her name. One visitor recounted a late-night exploration of the upper hallways. The mansion was silent except for the faint creak of old floorboards. Suddenly, a pale figure appeared at the end of the corridor, pacing slowly and deliberately. The observer felt a cold gust brush past them, and the temperature dropped sharply. They called her name softly, almost instinctively, and a door at the far end of the hallway slammed with a loud, reverberating sound. The figure turned momentarily, vanishing into the shadows as the warmth of the house slowly returned. Other experiences involve subtle, yet unsettling phenomena. Temperature fluctuations, objects moving slightly without cause, and the sensation of unseen attention are reported frequently. Some describe the feeling of a presence behind them, close enough to sense its weight or breath, yet there is nothing to see. Shadows flicker in peripheral vision, and the mansion seems to breathe with the echoes of its past occupants. The ghostly lady is the most frequently observed, yet her presence interacts with the space in ways that make the mansion itself seem alive. The mansion's history contributes to the intensity of these encounters. Once home to the Hooper family, it has witnessed generations of life. From celebrations to quiet evenings in candlelit rooms. It is easy to imagine the lady as a remnant of this history. A figure bound to the hallways and rooms she once knew intimately. Guests have suggested that she is protective of the space, appearing to remind visitors that the mansion's history is alive, and that the stories of its past occupants continue to unfold silently around them. Nighttime heightens every sensation. Moonlight streams through the tall windows, casting long shadows and creating shifting patterns across the floors. Every sound is amplified: the distant creak of the house settling, the subtle sigh of wind through old timbers, the soft thud of doors moving without explanation. In this environment, the ghostly lady's presence becomes undeniable. She moves through rooms with fluid motion, her form sometimes partially visible, sometimes reduced to a shifting shadow, yet always commanding attention. Encounters vary in intensity. Some visitors report seeing only fleeting glimpses: a shadow at the end of the hallway, a brush of cold air along the arm. Others experience prolonged phenomena, the pacing figure appearing repeatedly, doors slamming in sequence, the temperature dropping in one room then another. Each experience leaves a lasting impression, a vivid awareness of the mansion as a space where past and present coexist, and where the unseen continues to inhabit its familiar corners. By dawn, the mansion returns to ordinary perception. Sunlight fills the halls, warmth returns to the air, and the echoes of the night fade. Yet visitors leave carrying the memory of what they experienced. The ghostly pacing, the sudden slams of doors, the chill that accompanied her presence. The Hooper mansion endures as a place where history lingers, and the ghostly lady remains a silent observer, walking the upper hallways, pacing deliberately, and leaving behind the unmistakable imprint of the past. The Hooper mansion reminds us that some spaces are not simply structures, but vessels of memory and presence. Shadowy figures, sudden chills, and doors that move without explanation are all part of an enduring narrative that bridges centuries. Visitors may leave the mansion, but the experience of the ghostly lady persists, a quiet reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that some presences remain, pacing silently through the hallways of memory and time. The Joseph Story House in Salem stands as a relic of early American history, its clapboard exterior weathered by centuries of wind and rain. By day, sunlight streams through the tall windows, illuminating polished wood floors, antique furniture, and the intricate details of colonial architecture. Visitors walk quietly through the halls, tracing the lives of the family that once inhabited the home, unaware that the house carries echoes of a past that is not entirely gone. As night falls, the atmosphere within the Joseph Story House shifts. The air grows colder and heavier, shadows stretch along the walls. Ordinary silence becomes layered with something more tangible. Visitors report hearing faint screams emanating from empty rooms. Soft at first, almost distant, then growing in clarity as though the walls themselves carry the memory of pain or distress long forgotten. The cries are not violent, yet they leave a lasting impression, lingering in the ears and pressing subtly against the senses. Along with the sounds of sorrow, some guests claim the walls whisper. Words and phrases, fragmented and indistinct, echo through corridors and chambers, repeating in ways that defy explanation. The whispers seem to carry secrets from the past, phrases that might have been spoken decades or even centuries ago. Visitors feel a pull toward them, a sense that the house is attempting to reveal something hidden beneath layers of time. The experience is at once unnerving and mesmerizing, a reminder of the histories embedded in every beam and plank of the home. One visitor described walking the second-floor hallway late at night. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet as shadows lengthened across the walls. Suddenly, faint screams echoed from the parlor below. The visitor froze, straining to understand. But when they peered into the empty room, no one was there. As they continued down the hall, whispers emerged from the walls themselves, repeating fragments of words that seemed oddly familiar. The air pressed against them, cool and heavy, as though the house itself were breathing. Another account comes from a historian who stayed late to document artifacts. While cataloging items in the dining room, the faint sound of crying filled the space. It was distant at first, almost imagined, but gradually it grew clearer, resonating against the walls. At the same time, the historian noticed that phrases, half-words, repeated over and over, echoing from the wooden panels and the corners of the room. The sound carried a rhythm, a pulse that seemed to align with their own heartbeat. They turned to look. But the room remained empty. The only movement being the subtle flicker of shadows in candlelight. Legend suggests that the Joseph Story house preserves more than furniture and architecture. It holds the memory of lives that have passed through its rooms, preserving fragments of emotion, conversation, and sorrow in the very walls themselves. The screams and whispers are thought to be echoes of history, intangible yet perceptible, a reminder that human experience leaves a mark beyond what is visible. Visitors do not feel threatened, but they often leave with a deep awareness of the layers of life and memory the house contains. Imagine standing in one of the upper rooms at night. The moonlight filters through the windows, casting silver light across polished floors. Shadows stretch along the walls, and the air grows dense with quiet anticipation. Faint screams rise, echoing softly and fading, then repeating. The walls murmur fragments of words, phrases long forgotten, carrying the resonance of centuries. Those who experience the Joseph Story house at night often speak of a mixture of awe and unease. The faint cries, the whispering walls, and the subtle pressing of air create an atmosphere that is immersive and haunting. It is not malevolent, but it is persistent, compelling visitors to acknowledge the unseen layers of history that remain embedded in the home. The building itself seems aware, attentive to movement and presence, holding the stories of those who walked its halls long before. The Joseph Story house is a place where history and memory coexist in tangible form. The faint screams and whispered phrases remind all who enter that time leaves traces. That human experience is preserved in ways that are invisible yet undeniable. Each room, corridor, and corner carries weight, echoing the lives of those who once lived there. Visitors leave with a sense of respect and wonder, knowing that the house is alive with memory, its walls speaking softly to those who listen carefully. If you ever walk the halls of the Joseph Story house after dark, pay attention to the quiet. Listen for the faint cries from empty rooms. And the whispers that drift along the walls. You may feel the press of presence against your senses. And hear fragments of phrases that echo across centuries. The house does not reveal all its secrets. But its memory endures. Offering a glimpse of a past that is never fully gone. Preserved in the subtle, persistent voices that inhabit its walls. The Winslow Crocker House in Barnstable stands as a pristine example of colonial architecture, its white clapboards and sweeping lawns a testament to craftsmanship and history. By day, visitors wander through the rooms, admiring the antique furniture, period artifacts, and the carefully preserved structure that has stood for centuries. The attic is the heart of the mystery. Visitors have reported seeing shadows of a child moving silently among the rafters and beams. The shape is small, fleeting, and delicate, often glimpsed from the stairs or through the narrow attic windows. It moves without sound, gliding across the floor or disappearing behind trunks and old storage boxes. Those who notice the shadow describe a sensation of being observed, a gentle but insistent awareness that something or something is present even when no one else is in the house. Footsteps are a frequent accompaniment. The sound of small, soft steps echoes from above, distinct yet impossible to locate precisely. Visitors below, standing in the main rooms, hear the taps and scuffs as if a child were exploring the attic, yet when they climb the stairs or open the attic door, the space appears empty. The acoustics of the house amplify these sounds, carrying them with clarity, creating the impression of movement, presence, and curiosity. The experience leaves a lingering sense of both wonder and unease, a mixture of historical ambience and unexplained phenomenon. One visitor recounted an evening tour when the house was nearly empty. Standing in the parlor, they heard a series of rapid footsteps overhead, a rhythm unmistakably human. Their curiosity compelled them to ascend the narrow stairs leading to the attic. The room was dimly lit by a small window, yet the space appeared empty. Silent except for the occasional creak of the floorboards beneath their own feet. Moments later, the footsteps resumed, moving from one corner to another, yet no figure was seen. The sensation of being watched persisted long after they descended. The shadow of the child is not menacing. Witnesses describe it as curious, playful even, moving along beams or near trunks, pausing briefly, then vanishing into darkness. Its presence is fleeting, often lasting only seconds, but memorable. The effect is heightened by the stillness of the attic, the smell of old wood and dust, and the sense that this space has been preserved almost untouched for centuries. The combination of sensory detail and subtle movement creates an immersive experience that engages imagination, memory, and perception simultaneously. High ceilings, wooden floors, and narrow stairways create natural echoes, carrying sound in ways that make footsteps seem closer or more distinct than expected. Shadows and light from windows create shifting patterns across the walls and floors, making glimpses of movement appear both natural and uncanny. Visitors often note that while the attic seems empty upon inspection, the feeling of presence is unmistakable, as though the space itself retains memory of those who once lived or visited there. Imagine ascending to the attic of the Winslow Crocker house on a quiet afternoon. Sunlight filters through small windows, dust motes drifting in the beams. You pause at the top of the stairs, hearing soft taps along the boards above. Shadows move along the rafters, small and fleeting. You strain to see them, yet each time you look directly, the space is empty. Footsteps echo above as if accompanying an invisible child exploring the attic, leaving a sense of life and curiosity suspended in time. The phenomenon is consistent across multiple reports. Guests, staff, and guides describe similar experiences. Shadows appearing and disappearing, footsteps echoing across floors, and a palpable awareness of presence. The attic becomes a space where history, imagination, and unexplained activity converge, creating an experience that is both captivating and unsettling. Drawing attention to the interplay of light, sound, and memory within the historic home. Visitors often leave the house with a heightened sense of awareness, recounting the fleeting glimpses of movement, the echo of footsteps, and the feeling that the attic is inhabited by a presence that is both playful and curious. The Winslow Crocker house is more than a historical site, it is a living testament to the past, where shadows of those who once inhabited or passed through remain, moving quietly above, reminding all who enter that the past is never entirely gone, but sometimes lingers just out of sight, silently observing and fleetingly revealing itself to those willing to notice. The attic of the Winslow Crocker house remains a place of fascination, memory, and subtle mystery. The shadow of the child moves through the space, footsteps echo. And the rooms below remain silent and still, creating a layered experience of history, presence, and intrigue. For those who explore its floors, the house offers not only a glimpse into colonial life, but also a reminder that some echoes of the past continue to inhabit the spaces they left behind. Moving quietly, observing attentively, and disappearing just as suddenly as they appear. For those who dare to venture into the Winslow Crocker house, the experience is one of unrelenting, existential terror. The Stephen Phillips House in Salem stands as a quiet monument to history, its brick FAA section Ade and tall windows holding centuries of memory within. By day, sunlight illuminates the finely crafted woodwork, the high ceilings, and the careful detail of a home preserved through generations. By night, however, the house takes on a different presence. Shadows lengthen along the walls, and the atmosphere shifts subtly, as though the home itself is alive with unseen observers. Guests who remain after dusk often report noticing small, inexplicable movements. Candle flames bend toward empty corners of the room, flickering and swaying as if drawn by invisible hands. The light dances along polished surfaces, revealing shapes that vanish the moment they are observed directly. It is a gentle, hypnotic motion, enough to draw attention and curiosity, but impossible to attribute to draft or natural movement. Doors, too, behave in unusual ways. Some guests describe doors that slowly creak open without any wind or human touch. The movement is deliberate, almost inviting, and seems to beckon visitors further into the house. Steps along the hallways remain silent, yet the impression of passage is unmistakable. Those who follow the doorways report a faint whisper, a soft murmur calling them into the corridor, urging exploration even as the mind warns caution. One evening, a visitor recounted standing in the parlor as the house settled into quiet. The flicker of a candle on the mantel drew their attention. They watched as the flame leaned toward the corner of the room, where no one could be seen. Moments later, a door at the far end of the hall began to open slowly, the hinge moving without sound beyond its creak. A low voice seemed to call their name, guiding them into the hall. When they stepped forward, the doorway was empty, the whispers gone, leaving only the stillness of the house and the lingering warmth of candlelight. The house itself seems to amplify every sensation. The high ceilings and narrow hallways create natural echoes, yet the reported sounds cannot be fully explained by architecture alone. The whispers are often distinct, forming words or syllables that draw attention, and the bending flames and moving doors reinforce the impression that someone, or something, is observing and interacting with the living. Many guests describe a profound sense of awareness while inside. There is no hostility, no aggression, only the subtle, persistent feeling that the house is conscious of their presence. The soft movements of candle flames, the opening doors, and the distant whispers create a layered experience in which time and space feel altered. Each step taken within the hallways feels weighted with history, yet responsive to the actions of the visitor. The phenomenon is often strongest in rooms where the original furnishings remain intact. In these spaces, the house's past feels most present, as if the objects themselves are imbued with memory. Guests have reported feeling drawn to specific corners, their attention guided by the candlelight or the soft call of a whisper, as though the home remembers and recognizes those who enter. Local legend suggests that the Stephen Phillips house holds residual energy from past occupants. Some believe the whispers and subtle movements are echoes of the family or staff who once lived within its walls. Their routines, gestures, and presence preserved through time. Others propose that the house has absorbed the intentions and emotions of those who passed through, creating an environment where memory manifests in physical and auditory forms for those sensitive to it. Visitors often describe a combination of wonder and apprehension. The experiences are not frightening in the traditional sense, but they create a heightened awareness of surroundings. Candle flames that bend unexpectedly, doors that open without explanation, and whispers calling from the hall combine to form an immersive and unforgettable encounter. Each sight and sound seems purposeful, deliberate, and connected to the history of the home. Each sight and sound seems purposeful, deliberate, and connected to the history of the home. The house's architecture contributes to the effect. Narrow staircases amplify footsteps or creaks that may not exist. The natural acoustics carry whispers through corridors, enhancing the sensation that the home itself is communicating with visitors. Observers often feel that they are stepping into a dialogue with the past, where each movement is met with subtle response. Even in the quietest moments, the house maintains its presence. Candlelight leans, shadows twist, and doors remain poised to open. The whispers may fade, yet their memory lingers in the mind of the visitor. Those who leave the house carry with them the sense that the Stephen Phillips house is not simply a historic structure but a living repository of moments, preserving echoes of the past that remain ready to interact with the present. The Stephen Phillips house endures as a place where history and mystery intersect. Candle flames bend toward the unseen, doors open to the hallways. And whispers call softly to those who enter. Each visitor experiences the house in their own way, guided by subtle movements and sounds. Enveloped by an atmosphere of living memory. Nightfall in the house reveals its true character, a home where the past lingers, observing, interacting, and quietly inviting all who enter to witness the enduring presence of what has come before. The Nathaniel Hawthorne birthplace in Salem stands as a quiet monument to one of America's most celebrated literary figures. Its modest FAA section Ade and weathered clapboards reflect the charm and history of a bygone era, a home where imagination and reality once intertwined in the life of a young boy who would grow to shape the world of letters. By day, sunlight illuminates the rooms, casting gentle shadows across polished floors and antique furnishings. Visitors admire the historical significance, yet few are prepared for the experiences that sometimes unfold after the sun sets. Guests frequently report the sensation of invisible hands resting on their shoulders. The feeling is subtle at first, a gentle pressure or a fleeting touch that raises awareness without warning. Those who encounter it describe a mixture of curiosity and unease, as if they are being acknowledged by a presence just beyond sight. The sensation often occurs in quiet corners or hallways, where the atmosphere already seems dense with history and memory. Some feel the pressure grow stronger when lingering in rooms associated with Hawthorne's childhood, as if the home itself recalls the life that once filled its spaces. In addition to the physical sensations, objects are sometimes observed moving without explanation. Chairs shift slightly, small items on tables levitate for moments before settling. And books or papers appear to rearrange themselves as though guided by unseen hands. Witnesses often notice that these movements are deliberate rather than chaotic, giving the impression of awareness and purpose. The phenomenon is subtle, yet it leaves a profound impression on those who witness it, reinforcing the idea that the house holds more than the ordinary echoes of the past. One visitor recounted standing in the study, the room lined with period furniture and framed portraits of Hawthorne's ancestors. The house was silent, still, and yet the feeling of being watched was unmistakable. Suddenly, a gentle pressure pressed against the visitor's shoulder. Turning quickly, they saw nothing, yet a small book on the desk had shifted slightly to one side. The air felt colder, denser, and the visitor felt a heightened awareness, as though the house itself had acknowledged their presence. Other experiences follow similar patterns. Guests have reported doors opening and closing slowly, objects tilting or sliding across surfaces, and books moving on shelves without cause. Some describe a soft vibration in the air, a subtle energy that seems to hum in response to attention. The house's architecture, narrow hallways, high ceilings, and intimate rooms amplifies these sensations, creating an immersive environment where sight, sound, and touch blend in ways that are both tangible and enigmatic. Local lore suggests that these phenomena may be the result of lingering energy from the past, traces of life imprinted in the walls and floors. Nathaniel Hawthorne's creative spirit, coupled with the presence of generations of family who lived and worked in the home, may have left a resonance that manifests subtly to sensitive observers. Some interpret the invisible hands as protective, gentle acknowledgments, while the movement of objects may reflect a playful, watchful energy that lingers in spaces the author once occupied. The effect is often strongest in the evening or during times of quiet reflection. Shadows stretch across floors and walls, the air grows cooler, and every small sound is amplified. Visitors report that the sensation of touch and observation intensifies when they focus on a particular area or object, as if the house responds to attention. The combination of historical ambience, architectural design, and subtle phenomena creates an experience that is immersive, memorable, and haunting in the most gentle way. Some visitors describe the feeling of being accompanied as they move through the house. Footsteps seem to follow, but when turning to look, no one is there. Books, papers, and small objects sometimes shift just enough to capture attention. creating a sense that the home itself is aware and engaged. These interactions are brief but impactful, leaving visitors with a profound sense of connection to the history and spirit of the place. By morning, the house returns to ordinary perception. Sunlight fills the rooms, the temperature stabilizes. And the objects remain undisturbed. Yet the memory of touch, movement, and presence lingers with those who experienced it. A quiet but vivid reminder that the past continues to inhabit the spaces it once occupied. Visitors leave with a sense of wonder and reflection, aware that the Nathaniel Hawthorne birthplace is more than a static historical city, it is a living repository of energy, memory, and perhaps the lingering presence of the author himself. The Nathaniel Hawthorne birthplace endures as a place where history, memory, and the unexplained converge. Invisible touches, moving objects, and subtle shifts in energy invite visitors to engage with the past in a tangible way. The home remains a testament not only to Hawthorne's life and legacy but also to the enduring resonance of human experience. A space where the ordinary and the mysterious coexist, quietly observing all who enter and carrying forward the presence of those long gone. The Captain Enoch Remick House in Haverhill stands as a well-preserved relic of early American architecture, its clapboard walls and tall windows hinting at centuries of history. By day, sunlight streams through the windows, illuminating rooms filled with antique furniture, ornate woodwork, and the echoes of lives long past. The house tells a story of its former occupants, of their routines, their work, and the quiet dignity of life in a bygone era. Yet as evening falls and shadows lengthen, the house takes on a presence. A reminder that history is often more than what is visible. Visitors report seeing a ghostly man in the old study rooms. The figure is tall, indistinct, and dressed in clothing from another century. His form appears silently, as though emerging from the walls themselves. And he seems aware of those nearby, yet distant in both time and space. The presence is accompanied by a drop in temperature, a coldness that spreads through the room. And faint creaking sounds, like the settling of wood under invisible weight. Those who try to approach him find that he disappears, leaving only the chill and the echo of movement behind. One visitor described entering the study late in the afternoon. The air was already cool, and the faint scent of aged wood filled the room. As they walked toward the desk, a shadow emerged near the corner, tall and silent. They froze, noticing the subtle shift in the air, the sudden cold that wrapped around their shoulders. The figure did not move but seemed to observe. When they stepped closer, it vanished as if never there, leaving only the creak of floorboards that no one was walking on and a lingering chill in the air. Another account comes from a historian who spent an evening cataloging documents in the same study. While carefully examining a stack of papers, they felt the temperature drop, a subtle brush of cold across their arms. Glancing up, they noticed a vague human form near the window, standing motionless. The historian felt the presence of observation, a silent awareness that was both disconcerting and compelling. As they reached toward the area where the figure had been, the form dissipated into the shadows, leaving only the quiet settling of the house. And a faint echo of movement that could not be explained. Legend suggests that the ghostly man is the spirit of Captain Enoch Remick himself, lingering in the rooms where he once worked and planned, a watchful presence over the house he built and cherished. The cold air, subtle creaking, and fleeting appearances are thought to be the remnants of his routines, a replaying of habits and movements embedded in the very fabric of the building. The spirit does not threaten, rather, it seems to occupy the space with a calm, measured attention, a guardian of memory and history. Imagine standing in the study yourself. The wooden floors creak softly underfoot, and shadows stretch across the walls. A chill brushes against your skin, the air growing heavier with an unexplainable presence. In the corner of your vision, a tall figure emerges, silent and still, observing the room. You take a careful step forward, yet when you look directly, the space is empty. The air remains cold, and the faint echo of creaking wood reminds you that the house holds more than furniture and architecturia, it holds memory, preserved in shadow and sensation. Visitors often describe a mixture of awe and unease when encountering the ghostly presence in the study. The subtlety of his appearance, the sudden cold, and the faint sounds create an atmosphere that is immersive and haunting without being threatening. Each encounter is unique, yet all share a sense of connection to the past, a recognition that the house has absorbed the essence of those who once lived and worked within its walls. The spirit of Captain Remick, if indeed it is him, serves as a reminder that history is alive in spaces long after people have gone. The Captain Enoch Remick house demonstrates how a home can retain the echoes of life across centuries. Footsteps in empty rooms, cold air that seems to move independently, and shadowy figures glimpsed at the corner of vision are all subtle reminders that some presences endure. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness, a sense that the house watches and remembers, preserving the memory of those who built it, lived in it, and shaped its character. If you ever enter the study late in the day or after nightfall, pay attention to the temperature, the subtle sounds, and the shadows that stretch across the walls. You may feel the presence of a tall figure, sense the brush of cold air against your skin, and hear the faint creak of floorboards where no one walks. The spirit vanishes when approached, yet its presence remains in memory. An echo of life, history, and enduring watchfulness that inhabits the Captain Enoch Remick house, quietly guarding the rooms where the past lives on. The Peabody Essex Museum Mansion in Salem stands as a testament to centuries of art, culture, and history. Its galleries display treasures from around the world, delicate porcelains, ancient artifacts, and works of fine art. During the day, visitors move through the halls admiring the displays, walking quietly along polished floors, their footsteps muted by the thick carpets and high ceilings. Yet as the museum empties and night falls, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows deepen, hallways lengthen, and the mansion becomes a space where the past seems to move closer, tangible and alive. Visitors and staff alike have reported seeing shadowy figures moving across the galleries after hours. These figures are fleeting and indistinct, moving just beyond the edge of vision. A person may catch a glimpse of a form passing behind a column or slipping around a corner, only to find the space empty moments later. The movements are subtle but unmistakable, suggesting awareness, purpose, and presence. Witnesses describe the shapes as human in proportion, often moving with a fluid grace that is unlike ordinary shadows. Their passage is accompanied by the sensation of being observed. Soft laughter is another phenomenon reported within the halls. It drifts through the galleries without source, light, melodic, and playful yet unsettling. Visitors hear it in empty rooms, echoing faintly against walls lined with art and history. The laughter can appear near or distant, sometimes seeming to circle the listener, vanishing when they turn or attempt to locate its origin. The combination of movement and sound creates a layered experience, engaging both curiosity and caution, a subtle reminder that the mansion retains echoes of those who once walked its floors. Doors and windows contribute to the uncanny atmosphere. Some visitors describe doors opening slowly on their own, moving with a quiet creak that draws attention. Windows shift slightly, catching moonlight or interior lighting in ways that cast elongated shadows across walls and floors. These occurrences are gentle and non-threatening, yet they reinforce the sensation of an unseen presence, an active observation of the mansion that continues after visitors have arrived or departed. One security guard recounted an evening when the museum was nearly empty. Walking a dimly lit corridor, he noticed a figure move across the far gallery. He paused, heart quickened. But when he reached the location, the space was empty. Moments later, he heard soft laughter drifting from a nearby room, the sound light and almost musical. He followed the sound, but it faded into silence, leaving only the echo of the mansion's vast halls. And the quiet sensation that someone or something had passed through moments before. Galleries, with their high ceilings and polished floors, amplify both sight and sound. Footsteps, laughter, and movement echo across spaces in ways that create the impression of life beyond what is visible. Visitors often report heightened awareness of the smallest sounds, the faintest movements, and the subtle shifts of light and shadow. The mansion itself becomes a character, a vessel through which history and presence intermingle, allowing fleeting glimpses into a world layered atop the one we inhabit. Imagine moving through the Peabody Essex Museum mansion late at night. The rooms are dimly lit, the art on the walls quiet and still. A shadow crosses a gallery, vanishing around a corner before you can fully focus. Soft laughter drifts from another room, light, melodic, yet unnervingly real. Doors creak gently, the air shifts slightly, and the feeling of observation grows, as if the mansion itself breathes and moves in tandem with unseen inhabitants. Witnesses consistently describe similar experiences: shadowy figures gliding across rooms, laughter without source, and subtle environmental changes that suggest presence. The phenomena are never aggressive or threatening, but persistent enough to capture attention and imagination. They evoke curiosity, a sense of wonder, and a quiet respect for the depth of history contained within the walls of the mansion. The Peabody Essex Museum Mansion remains a living repository of art and culture. Yet beyond its curated collections lies an intangible layer. One that engages senses beyond sight alone. Footsteps, fleeting shadows, and laughter form a tapestry of experience that bridges past and present, reminding visitors that the mansion carries memory and presence in ways both delicate and profound. Even when the museum is empty, the sensations persist. Hallways seem to stretch farther than their architecture suggests, shadows drift just out of reach, and soft, disembodied laughter can echo for minutes at a time. Shadows drift just out of reach. And soft, disembodied laughter can echo for minutes at a time. Visitors leave with an awareness that the mansion holds more than artifacts and historical objects. It contains echoes of life, fleeting movements, and subtle interactions that make the experience unforgettable. Make the experience unforgettable. The Peabody Essex Museum Mansion offers a space where history is alive not only in its displays but also in its atmosphere. The shadowy figures, soft laughter, and subtle movements create an immersive experience, a quiet engagement with the past that is both fascinating and haunting. Every step, every glance, and every sound in the galleries becomes a reminder that the mansion is more than a building, it is a living memory, holding the presence of those who have walked its halls and leaving traces for those who follow to sense, wonder, and remember. The Turner House in Barnstable stands as a historic testament to centuries past, its clapboard walls and tall windows reflecting both architectural charm and the weight of history. By day, visitors admire the carefully preserved rooms, the polished floors, and the high ceilings that create an expansive, airy atmosphere. The house tells stories of the families who lived there, of generations passing through its halls, and of moments both ordinary and remarkable. By night, however, the Turner House takes on a different presence, one that is subtle, mysterious, and deeply unsettling. Guests who remain after dusk often describe a ghostly figure moving through the hallways. She is a woman in a flowing dress, her form graceful and ethereal, gliding silently across polished floors. Her presence is deliberate yet delicate, a soft movement that draws attention without making sound. Visitors report catching glimpses of her from the corner of their eyes, seeing the fabric of her dress shift as she passes, only to vanish the moment they attempt to look directly. Alongside the apparition, many have reported the sensation of being followed. Soft footsteps echo behind them, a gentle rhythm that mirrors their own movements but never overtakes them. The sound stops whenever they turn around, as if the presence is aware of being observed and chooses to remain unseen. This creates a tension that is subtle yet persistent, a quiet awareness that the Turner House holds more than just memory within its walls. Doors also seem to move without cause. Visitors report them shifting slightly, swinging open or closed with no wind or visible interaction. Sometimes the movement coincides with the appearance of the ghostly woman, other times it occurs independently, suggesting a presence navigating the house unseen. The combination of soft footsteps, moving doors, and fleeting apparitions creates an atmosphere that is immersive and unforgettable. One evening, a small group exploring the house after dark. Described moving from room to room, their flashlights casting long shadows along the walls. As they paused in the central hallway, the distinct sound of footsteps followed them, matching their pace exactly. They turned quickly, expecting to see someone, yet the hallway was empty. Moments later, a door at the end of the corridor creaked open slightly, then settled back into silence. The experience left them with a profound sense of being watched and followed, yet never threatened. The Turner House is a structure that naturally enhances these experiences. Its high ceilings and narrow hallways create natural echoes, amplifying even the smallest sounds. Polished floors reflect light and movement, sometimes producing visual effects that seem like fleeting figures. Yet witnesses insist that the apparition and accompanying phenomena are distinct from natural acoustics or reflections, appearing consistently across generations of visitors and staff. Local legend suggests that the ghostly woman may be tied to the history of the Turner family or to a resident who lived and loved within the house long ago. Some believe she is a caretaker of the home, bound to ensure that the stories and presence of the past are never forgotten. Others propose that she is a remnant of personal loss, a spirit lingering where emotion and memory were most intense. Whatever the origin, her appearances are consistent, a flowing dress, silent movement, and a presence that interacts subtly with the living. The sensation of being followed adds another layer to the house's mystery. Guests report an increasing awareness of their surroundings, heightened sensitivity to sounds and shadows, and a curiosity tempered by caution, and the ghostly figure glides through spaces as if she exists alongside the present moment without fully inhabiting it. The experience is immersive, engaging multiple senses at once, leaving a lasting impression long after the visitor departs. Even during daylight hours, visitors speak of an intangible presence within the Turner house. Rooms seem to hold a weight beyond the physical, a quiet anticipation that is most apparent at night. Shadows linger longer than expected, reflections in windows appear to shift independently, and small noises punctuate the silence in ways that defy ordinary explanation. The house preserves these layers of memory, manifesting them in ways that remain subtle yet profoundly felt. Witnesses emphasize that the ghostly woman is not aggressive or threatening. Her movement is deliberate, almost graceful, and her presence feels more observant than intrusive. The sound of footsteps echoes through the halls, the shifting of doors, the occasional glimpse of a dress. But never with intent to frighten, this subtlety contributes to the deep fascination visitors feel, a sense of encountering something timeless and beyond ordinary perception. The Turner House, with its architecture, history, and enduring presence, remains a space where the past is tangible and the unseen is palpable. High ceilings, polished floors, and narrow corridors amplify every step, every movement, every shadow. The ghostly woman glides through the halls, footsteps echo softly behind. Doors shift with invisible weight, and the house maintains a quiet, living memory. The house maintains a quiet, living memory that continues to draw observers into its mystery. At night, the Turner House is alive in a way that transcends the physical. Visitors feel the presence of the ghostly woman, hear footsteps that follow yet vanish, and witness doors moving as though guided by unseen hands. Each encounter reinforces the sense that this is a place where history, memory, and mystery converge. A home where the living and the unseen coexist. The Turner House endures, quietly observing, softly guiding, and maintaining the whispers of its past for all who enter. And so, our journey through Massachusetts' haunted mansions ends. 20 grand estates, filled with echoes of the past. Where walls remember, footsteps persist. And the dead remain attentive. If you ever walk alone through these historic halls, remember, the air may carry voices. And mirrors may show more than your reflection. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. May your nights be safe, your doors secure, and your mind free from whispers of the past. Or perhaps it never truly ends, as shadows and whispers may follow you home. Thank you for venturing with me tonight. Before you leave, tell me in the comments. Which mansion chilled your soul the most? And would you dare spend a night inside one alone? Sleep carefully, dear listener. If the shadows allow.